What's good, YouTube? Cardfight King here. Aqua Life, baby. You already know how it is. Sorry if I sound a little bit sick. I am sick. So I had time, stayed home from work. I was going to give you guys this updated deck profile to my Aqua Force deck. So far, I've had a very high win rate with this deck. Um, it's extremely smooth. I haven't had any real problems with it. I do recognize where the format is going, and then that's just a product of the game, progressing in different directions to why I feel like Aquaforce right now is going to, as we get knee deep into this new set, and then as other sets come out, we're gonna definitely start to get slower and slower and slower. Um, but so far, I've had a very high win rate with this deck. The deck really focuses heavily around having a strong grade 2 turn if possible, and then going into your grade 3 turns to really put the pressure on the opponent. And that's really the style that we're really gonna have to play for. Going into the future, being able to get off on grade 2 and then have some really nice pressure, possibly game ending depending on where you're at in the turn 3, and then looking to finish the game by turn 4, turn 5. Um, so this is it's been pretty consistent. Like I said, pretty high win rate. Yeah, and so far it's really smooth, and I'll explain my choices as we go along. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so for grade zeros, obviously starting off with my boy off stick at Eric. Trip 4 heal. So we're playing 4 PG draws. Went back to the Otter. I know in my previous deck profile I stated that I was fine with 8 front triggers, and to be honest, I'm still fine with 8 front triggers, but I went back to 6/6 because I realized that one, Narukami's out, and I wanted to maximize the amount of opportunities I had in order to draw. If I'm going to be relying on chance, whether it's for a damage or a drive check, I want to more or less maximize, to a degree, my potential to hit a draw trigger to gain an extra card to hand, because they're constantly clearing the board. Additionally, with the way that decks are progressing with every new set and things like that, having to ride twice is becoming something that's very slow. And so in that regard, having this draw trigger gives me the chance during a drive check or damage check to draw into a piece that I need. I'm still comfortable with the 8 front triggers, but I realize that where the game is going and progressing and what we have out currently, I needed to have a balance between having a better chance to hit to get to the cards I need to get through my deck faster, and still keep up the aggression with the 6 front. The front triggers are still amazing. Moving on to grade 1s. Again, sorry, I'm kind of sick. 4 Nico, 4 wheel. Basically the best 2 grade 2s. Wheel is your ride target, your ideal ride target, combos into your Riptide plays, and really sets up a fantastic turn 2. He's the key to your turn 2 aggression. One, you do want to ride him, but if you do have another one in hand, then you want to keep him because he can create extra battles. Nico, he can search out the algos, and he's an 11k attacker on his own. Basically, having both of these on turn 2, excuse me, is outstanding. And then finishing off the grade 1 lineup, 2 copies of Dine. She is one of my favorite cards to have come out. I've been wanting her ever since she was announced as a promo card in Japan a while ago, and we finally got her. She is just an outstanding card. I have been thinking of bumping her up to 3, but right now 2's been working out fine. She's just extremely versatile. Excuse me. Being able to move her all around my board in the fact that I'm able to call her out as an attacker, put her in the front row If I use Maelstrom skill, Red OG, she's 11, so I can poke a rear guard. If she's on the Excel circle, she can hit. She'll be at 13 or 18 if I use Excel 1. And then, you set up your turn this way, she can attack. You could drop her down as a booster. And usually using a booster is kind of like in Aqua Force, but you can use her as a booster and then she will bounce back to your hand because you want to set her up for the 4th battle or more. So it's like, yeah, well, this attack does... this attack is going to hit more and I'm going to gain my booster back to my hand. Her skill is just very valuable. She can play all around the board. Except really behind her Vanguard. Don't put her behind your Vanguard, really, ever. But outside of that, she just makes a lot of things. Again, on Glory Maelstrom turns, on Excel 2, she's 13. Glory puts it to 23. Hit perfect numbers. She's just an outstanding card overall. Like I said, I'm definitely thinking about bumping her up to 3. I really like her. I did test out the other grade 1s in multiple different tournaments. In playtest sessions. I just found that she is the better one of those options from my testing because Theo is on hit. Opponents can play around that. Doesn't do too much. The Penguin is a decent card, but, having good counterblast management, I feel like I have good counterblast management and I can control that damage. It's better. Plus, I'm not blowing through all my counterblasts in one turn. And counterblasting has never been an issue for me in Aqua Force so far. So, in the Penguin also, it's like he kind of minds it. So it's just, he's okay, but not great. So moving on to the grade 2s. Grade 2s are pretty simple. Get through this quick. 4 Coral Assaults, the beat stick of the deck. Fantastic card overall. Great on turn 2 plays with opening him up with Wheel Assault and whatnot, being able to draw on turn 2 is nice. 4 Algos, you already know what he does. And the man who does not need an introduction, my favorite card in the game, Tidal Assault. Love Tidal Assault. You already know what he does. Glory, when you have an Algos and Tidal on board and you're on Glory Maelstrom, that is 4 attacks at 24k plus that your opponent's going to have to deal with. It's just both of them on the board at the same time with that is just absolutely disgusting. Saving him for the last attack, so if you do hit a trigger, then you'll put the effects on Tidal Assault. Tidal will swing for 34. If you use his ability, 29 twice. Even if your opponent hits a damage trigger, so you can't really pressure with 1919. Which is a 20, which is like total 20k shield instead of just a 15. You need 20. Then swinging him for 24 to grab a 15 out the hand still, or 5 out the hand or more is still fantastic. Just extremely versatile. Best card in the deck. My favorite card in the entire game. Been that way since we got Tetra Drive way back when. And then finishing off with the grade 3s. Put you guys over there. Triple Riptide Dragon. Now some people say it's an overkill with Riptide, and on paper I can see that you could think it is, but it's really not an overkill. Riptide Dragon is a fantastic card. He base 32 when he attacks, 42 on a glory turn. Your opponent's either going to perfect guard him or take a damage. It's just that simple. Unless they've hit a trigger, they're at 5 and they use a heal trigger and they're playing force, then there is that. But turn 2, you call him out with Wheel Assault on turn 2. Now they have to deal with a 32k swing, 40 if you put DNA behind him. Overall, he's just fantastic. When he gets dropped to the board, standing OG Maelstrom, again, it's either almost a guaranteed restand. Your opponent's gonna be dropping multiple cards out their hand to block him, or they're gonna perfect guard him. So one way or another, you're getting extreme value from him, throwing 32, 35, 42 at your opponent with him. And like I said, why Dine is good. You can put Dine behind him, and if he's only swinging for 32, well, that's a boost. That's 40K. If you use OG Maelstrom skills, that's a 43. Again, perfect number on a fourth Vanguard. So, Riptide's just been really awesome. For OG Maelstrom, he's okay. He's not great. Still want to ride him first. Get your setup, especially if you go first. He's definitely a very punishing card if you go first. Going second with him, he can be punishing. Really, just it depends on what your opponent's board setup is, where they're at, and what you got in hand. Again, he's still very dependent on having Algo's title Wheel Assault in order to create multiple battles and things like that. But still a solid card. Running 4, and just again he's a Maelstrom, and then 4 copies of Glory. Glory is the boss of the deck, obviously. Can potentially make an unguardable turn. He's a built-in front trigger, and then if you hit a front on top of that, then usually you're sealing the game. A lot of the times, it's basically the object of the game really is grade 2 turns, and you guys know Algos is your ideal grade 2 ride, but your grade 2 turns, you want to pressure them, pressure their damage, get them uncomfortable. Ride this Maelstrom. Your opponent definitely fears the restand, so because they fear a restand, he has a lot more value into getting certain cards that your opponent hand. Obviously, depends on your attack pattern up to the point where he restands and what you do, and obviously your opponent hitting triggers or not, depending on, again, this is dependent on the game state and what you've done. But by the time you you ride into Glory, and you have another Maelstrom and Soul, you're pushing for game. When you ride, if you do happen to ride Glory, riding Glory first is not a bad thing. Just mind it that he's going to be at 12K. You do want to use his ability to, because if you do hit a front trigger, then in most likely cases, your opponent early on is not going to have a lot of the requisite guard for him, so they're going to be eating a lot more damage, and they can't intercept, and they can only call one card from their hand to guard. So riding Glory first is never really a bad thing. You really just would prefer to see him second and this one first. And if you do have to ride him first, then, you don't really want to ride him over him. You really just want to get to another copy of Glory Maelstrom, because what we have to do now is we have to be able to close out the game as fast as possible. We cannot let decks like, Ganslot and Blaster Darks and all these, a lot of these, especially these newer decks coming out, Pale Moon stuff, we cannot let them linger around, because they can burst you. They have some amazing burst turns, and they can just burst you down real heavy. So getting to that second Glory ride is the most important thing after your turn 2 pressure. I do have some more matchup knowledge and things like that, but my throat is hurting, and yeah. But I hope you guys enjoy the deck profile. Like I said, I may cut a Riptide for another Dine, but so far the deck's been working very well. It's been very fluid. I haven't had any problems, really with it at all. I believe it's good for both a best of 3 and a best of 1. So it's so it works around in both types of games. But overall, it's just, still, very solid deck. It is going to be a solid deck for quite a while. Is it going to be top tier, tier 1 for a while? Not really. Do I think that the way the format is going and progressing, is the deck going to slow down? Absolutely. But, that comes with the territory. Can't wait to see what new cards we get soon. However, we're going to be dealing with this right now. Opponents, a lot of people still don't know how to guard against OG Maelstrom, have trouble guarding against Glory. Forget about that, especially if, you're playing a Protect player and they drop Protect 2 on you. You can just eat them alive for that. So that's all I got for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Aqua Life, baby. You already know. We out.